Did you know there is a critical connection between the quality of your muscles and your brain health? Preventive neurologist Dr. Kellyann Niotis and movement educator Beth Lewis offer their insights on how to optimize both as we age.
Yes,
Yeah.
muscle quality is huge because the quality of our muscle changes, like how it can contract because our fat stores change. So it's the muscle quality piece is huge because if you can't get that contraction, you've lost a lot of the benefits to the brain. As we age, we accumulate more intermuscular fat. So it's very similar to visceral adipose tissue, but it kind of lives in between muscle fibers. So it changes pronation angle, it changes contractile capabilities, and it's one of the biggest reasons that people lose strength as they age. So even in the presence of building lean mass, it doesn't necessarily mean that you change the composition and the quality of the tissue. So i- it's a bigger deal than people think because if you can't get that contractile capability in the tissue, you've lost a lot of the neurotropins. I never say that word right, but
Right?
yeah, it's it's pretty major in terms of muscle
Well,
quality.
one other thing that leads to really poor muscle quality is insulin resistance. And this is
Yes.
really a tricky situation because it can be a little bit of a vicious cycle. So we understand that the higher muscle mass that you have, the better your muscles are in terms of taking up glucose from the periphery to lower your blood or fasting glucose levels. Well, over time, what high blood glucose levels and insulin resistance does is it causes this accumulation of fat inside the muscles, which makes it a little bit harder for you to actually get the benefits of all of that strength training. You have to really work hard to overcome that insulin resistance to try to get your muscles really optimized and working the way that they should be working because the glucose itself can be so toxic.
Mhm.
I have a question.
You sound like me.
No, it's a good question, I think.
Mm.
If someone has poor muscle quality because they have fat deposition in their muscles, is it best to get them to on a program where their cardio is really intense so that they could get the body fat down and then train muscle strength? Or how do you think about that?
I mean, I personally prefer high intensity interval training in conjunction with strength training. But if you're not doing all of that in conjunction with nutrition changes, you need like the big trio. I prefer high intensity interval training over exorbitant amounts of zone two, just because you're helping with hypertrophy, building muscle mass, and increasing power output. Because you need, in order to push that hard, and hard is relative, you need power capabilities, which is so important with neurodegenerative disease patients, but also just aging patients. Being able to produce power is kind of key. So you need all three. You can't just do one, you can't just do two. You have to do all three to make changes.
And we also know that there are lots of benefits of HIIT training in terms of what it does directly to the brain. So it can have short term cognitive benefits in terms of someone's concentration, attention, processing speed, memory. It helps boost blood flow delivery to the brain and it helps stimulate important neurotropic factors like BDNF, which can all help promote brain health, promote neuroplasticity, neuronal generation, and just maintain the health of our brain cells. One thing is clear. Well, not everything is clear. One thing is clear that having a lot of visceral body fat and probably intramuscular fat is pro-inflammatory, and we know that it's associated with lower brain volumes collectively, both of gray matter volumes, white matter volumes, and especially in key regions of the brain impacted by diseases like Alzheimer's, so temporal lobe, for example. What is a little less clear is the impact of total muscle mass. So, what often happens, and it's difficult to kind of separate the two, in someone who has a lot of muscle mass, they often have really, really low adipose levels. And this isn't necessarily a bad thing, but what we do see is that they actually have lower volumes in a certain part of their brain called the white matter. That's our fatty part of the brain. Whether or not that means anything is really unclear. Does it mean that maybe the connections between the cells are just much tighter or strengthened from this? We don't actually know. We do know that they have higher gray matter thickness and volume, but they actually have lower white matter volume. And the jury's still out on exactly what that means.
We hope you enjoyed this video. To access a free Mastering Brain Health course led by Dr. Richard Isaacson, visit ind.org/learn. And to directly contribute to IND's research efforts, visit ind.org/donate.